It was a cold winter night. The sirens cut through the air as the fire truck tore through the city streets. Black smoke spiraled upwards in dense coils from an apartment building, engulfing everything around in a suffocating shroud of darkness. Firefighter Thomas, his oxygen mask tightly secured, leaped from the truck with fierce determination in his eyes. He was known for his unwavering courage and protective instinct, qualities that had made him a hero in his community. Upon arriving at the scene, chaos reigned. Panicked residents ran in all directions, cries and shouts mingling with the crackling of flames. Without hesitation, Thomas grabbed his hose and with the help of his team began to make his way through the fire, searching for any signs of life amidst the blazing inferno. On the third floor, Thomas heard a distinct sound, a faint cry coming from one of the apartments. His heart raced as he headed towards the source of the sound. The door was locked, but with a powerful kick, he broke it down. Inside, the smoke was so thick that visibility was reduced to mere inches. Following the sound, Thomas found a small girl huddled in a corner, her large, terrified eyes shining through the smoke. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Without wasting a moment, Thomas enveloped her in his strong arms, shielding her from the flames. She was frightened, but no longer crying. There was a strange relief in her eyes, as if she knew she was safe now. As he exited the burning apartment, Thomas looked down and saw a pendant hanging around the girl's neck. Even amidst the chaos, something about that pendant caught his attention. It was identical to the one his sister Emma had worn before mysteriously disappearing 7 years ago. It swayed gently, reflecting the flickering firelight around. With Sophia firmly in his arms, Thomas emerged from the collapsing building, feeling a mix of relief for having saved the girl and a growing curiosity about the pendant. Little did he know, this heroic rescue would be just the beginning of a much deeper and personal journey than he could ever imagine. Fate had begun weaving its threads in unexpected ways, and Thomas was about to discover that sometimes even the greatest heroes encounter surprises in the darkest missions. Thomas held Sophia carefully, trying to calm her as the ambulance approached. Paramedics quickly took over, checking the girl for injuries while Thomas watched protectively. His eyes, however, couldn't help but fixate on the small pendant hanging around Sophia's neck. It was a simple silver locket with an intricate design he knew all too well. Memories of his sister Emma flooded back, bringing a wave of emotions and memories. After ensuring Sophia was safe with the paramedics, Thomas stepped back, still troubled by the sight of the pendant. He vividly remembered how Emma, his younger sister, never took off that locket. It was a special gift from their grandmother, said to bring protection and luck. When Emma disappeared, the pendant vanished too, leaving only emptiness and a host of unanswered questions. As Thomas watched the paramedics care for Sophia, his mind was filled with tumultuous and intense thoughts. He wondered how that pendant ended up around the girl's neck. Was it just a coincidence, or was there a deeper, more unsettling connection? He knew he needed answers, and the only way to get them was to investigate further. Later that same day, Thomas went to the hospital to check on Sophia's condition. She was resting, exhausted after the ordeal she had faced. Approaching her bed, he examined the pendant more closely and felt a chill run down his spine. It was exactly the same, down to the smallest details. He needed to talk to Sophia to understand where that locket came from. When Sophia woke up, Thomas tried to speak to her gently and reassuringly. He asked about her parents, her life, and where she got the pendant. The girl, still shaken, couldn't provide clear information. She only mentioned that she had always had the pendant and didn't know where it came from. The innocence in her eyes touched Thomas deeply, but it also fueled his determination to uncover the truth. Thomas knew he needed help to investigate this mystery. He talked to fellow firefighters and sought assistance from the police, explaining the personal connection he had with the pendant. The officers promised to do their best to help, but cautioned that it would be a difficult task and could take time. Nevertheless, Thomas was resolved to press forward, driven by the hope of finally discovering what happened to his sister and understanding the connection between her and young Sophia. Thus, with the pendant As his only lead, Thomas embarked on his journey to unravel the mystery. Each passing moment brought him closer to the answers he had sought for so long. What he didn't yet know was that this journey would not only shed light on the past, but also alter his future in ways he could never have imagined. With the pendant weighing heavily on his mind, Thomas knew that the search for answers wouldn't be easy, but he was determined. The next morning, he visited the police station where he shared his findings with Detective Carvalho, an old friend and colleague who had worked on many complex cases. Carvalho listened attentively as Thomas explained the connection between Sophia's pendant and what his sister Emma had worn before disappearing. Intrigued by the story, the detective promised to help follow every possible lead. The first step was to check the church records where Sophia had been left. Thomas and Carvalho visited the site, where they were greeted by Father Miguel, who vividly remembered the night the girl was found on the church steps. Father Miguel recounted how Sophia had been wrapped in a simple blanket, with the pendant visible around her neck. At the time, the police had tried to locate her parents without success. The girl was eventually placed in a nearby orphanage and adopted a few months later. Thomas and Carvalho visited the orphanage and spoke with the director, Mrs. Marta. She remembered Sophia well, a sweet, quiet child who always held the pendant as if it were her most precious treasure. Mrs. Marta showed them the adoption records and shared everything she knew about Sophia's adoptive family, who unfortunately had died in a car accident, leaving the girl alone once again. Sophia's tragic story only fueled Thomas's determination to find answers. Back at the police station, Carvalho gained access to Emma's missing persons case files. He found old photos, descriptions, and notes from the investigators who had worked on the case. As he flipped through the files, Thomas felt a pang of pain, seeing his sister's smiling face, looking back at him. The pain of loss and lack of answers consumed him, but now he had renewed hope. The connection between Emma and Sophia seemed more real with each new discovery. Based on the gathered information, Thomas and Carvalho began piecing together a profile of Emma's final days before her disappearance. They talked to old friends and acquaintances, trying to understand if there was anything in her life that could have led to her vanishing. They discovered that Emma had mentioned to a few friends that she was worried about something, but she never revealed exactly what it was. These fragments of information painted an increasingly complex and mysterious picture. As the investigations progressed, Thomas couldn't help but feel closer and closer to uncovering the truth. With each new lead, he felt he was one step closer to finding his sister, or at least understanding what had happened to her. The connection between Emma and Sophia seemed undeniable, and he was determined to protect the girl and honor his sister's memory. With Carvalho by his side, Thomas knew he wasn't alone in this journey, and that together, they could face any obstacle. What had started as a simple coincidence was now unfolding into a complex web of mysteries and secrets. Thomas was prepared to confront any challenge that arose, driven by the hope of finding answers and the responsibility to care for Sophia, the girl who somehow was linked to his family's heart. The investigations into Sophia's past led Thomas and Carvalho to delve deeper into the church and orphanage records. They discovered that the night Sophia was left at the church coincided with the date Emma disappeared. This fact added an additional layer of urgency and emotion to Thomas's investigation, as it seemed to indicate a direct and potentially crucial connection between the two events. Father Miguel recalled additional details about the night Sophia appeared. A woman, visibly nervous, was seen leaving the girl on the steps before disappearing into the darkness. The description of this woman vaguely matched Emma's appearance, further raising Thomas's hopes that he was on the right track. Father Miguel also mentioned that the woman had whispered something before leaving, but he couldn't clearly hear the words. Determined not to let any lead slip away, Thomas and Carvalho interviewed more people from the neighborhood who might have seen something that night. An elderly woman, Donna Helena, remembered seeing a young woman running down the street, holding a baby in her arms. She noticed the panic-stricken and desperate expression on the woman's face, which deeply affected her. Donna Helena described the young woman as someone clearly trying to protect the baby from imminent danger. Thomas and Carvalho also gained access to the orphanage's health records. They found that when Sophia was found, she showed signs of malnutrition and a small scar on her left leg, as if she had been accidentally injured. These details suggested that the girl had gone through hardships before being left at the church. Each piece of information strengthened the suspicion that Emma had made great sacrifices to ensure Sophia's safety. More clues began to emerge when Thomas found an old friend of Emma's, Carla, who revealed that Emma was involved in a complicated situation with Sophia's father. According to Carla, the man was dangerous, and Emma feared for her safety and that of her daughter. Emma decided to flee and protect Sophia, but she never told anyone about her plan, likely to avoid being tracked down. This revelation deeply shook Thomas, as it confirmed his fears about the danger Emma was facing. The journey to uncover the truth about Sophia's past and Emma's fate continued to emotionally challenge Thomas. Each new discovery brought a mix of hope and pain, but also reinforced his determination. He now understood that Emma had sacrificed everything to protect her daughter, leaving Sophia in a safe place before disappearing. The mystery was far from solved, but the pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together. Thomas knew that to honor Emma's sacrifice and ensure a safe future for Sophia, he needed to continue the investigation with all his effort. He felt his sister's presence with every step he took, as if she were guiding him through a complicated and emotionally charged path. The revelation of Sophia's past not only clarified Emma's story, but also deepened the bond between Thomas and the girl, uniting them in a shared quest for answers and justice. Determined to confirm his suspicions about the connection between Sophia and Emma, Thomas decided that the next step was to conduct a DNA test. With Cavallo's help, he managed to expedite the process, collecting a DNA sample from Sophia and sending it for analysis. The wait for the results would be agonizing, but it was a necessary step to unravel the mystery surrounding his missing sister and the girl he had rescued. The days that followed were a mix of hope and anxiety for Thomas. He could barely sleep, his thoughts constantly returning to the pendant and the possibility of Sophia being his niece. Every time he looked at the girl, he saw familiar traits of Emma: the shy smile, the way she tilted her head. The DNA test could bring confirmation that he wasn't just seeing what he wanted to see, but that there was a real and deep connection. While awaiting the results, Thomas kept himself busy with work and investigations. He and Carvalho continued to piece together more of the puzzle regarding Emma and Sophia's past. They spoke with more people who knew Emma, trying to better understand the circumstances that led her to flee. The image of a brave woman determined to protect her daughter at all costs became clearer with each conversation. Finally, the day of the results arrived. Thomas went to the clinic where the test was conducted, his heart pounding in his chest. Carvalho accompanied him, offering silent support. Upon entering the doctor's office, the air was tense. The doctor, with a serious yet understanding look, opened the envelope containing the results and began explaining the technical details. However, Thomas could barely hear, his focus entirely on the conclusion that would follow. "The test confirms that Sophia is your niece," the doctor finally said. The words echoed in Thomas's mind. A wave of emotions hit him: relief, joy, sadness, and a renewed determination. He knelt beside Sophia, who was sitting in the chair beside him, and held her small hands. "You are part of our family," he whispered, tears welling up in his eyes. Sophia, not fully understanding, smiled shyly, trusting the man who had saved her. Thomas knew that, while this was a significant revelation, there was still much to be done. The DNA confirmation was just one piece of the puzzle. Now, he needed to uncover what really happened to Emma and how she managed to protect Sophia. There were more questions to be answered, more secrets to be revealed. But in that moment, holding his niece's hands, Thomas felt a renewed sense of purpose and connection. The DNA test results not only validated his suspicions, but also strengthened his commitment to ensuring that Sophia had a safe and loving life. He was more determined than ever to find answers about Emma, not just to close the painful chapter of his own life, but to honor the sacrifice his sister had made. And so, with Sophia by his side, Thomas continued his search, knowing that the journey was far from over, but confident that he was on the right path. With the confirmation that Sophia was indeed his niece, Thomas felt a renewed impulse to uncover what had happened to his sister, Emma. He knew that finding answers about Emma's past would be crucial to understanding the whole story and ensuring Sophia's safety. Thus, he and Carvalho delved even deeper into their investigations, determined to follow every lead, no matter how small. First, they revisited the police records of Emma's disappearance. Thomas found an old diary belonging to his sister among the family's belongings. The pages were filled with notes about her daily life, but in some parts the words revealed deep concerns and fears. Emma repeatedly mentioned a man who seemed to be stalking her, someone she was desperately trying to hide from. These fragments of information pointed to a difficult and dangerous period in Emma's life, something she had kept secret from her own family. By talking to Emma's old friends and colleagues, Thomas and Carvalho began to paint a clearer picture of what she had faced. Emma had become involved with a man named Ricardo, who initially seemed charming, but quickly revealed himself to be possessive and threatening. Emma realized that Ricardo was a dangerous figure with connections to the criminal underworld. Fearing for Sofia's safety and her own, Emma decided to flee. Thomas also found clues that Emma had sought help from shelters for women at risk. He and Carvalho visited several of these shelters, speaking to staff who might remember her. A social worker, Donna Clara, vividly recalled Emma and her young daughter. She described Emma as a desperate woman, yet incredibly determined to protect Sofia at any cost. Donna Clara mentioned that Emma never stayed in one place for long, constantly moving to avoid being found by Ricardo. The search led Thomas and Carvalho to a small town inland, where Emma had spent some time before disappearing completely. During a visit to an inn where Emma had stayed, the owner, Mr. Jorge, remembered a young mother who always seemed to be looking over her shoulder, worried for her safety. Mr. Jorge mentioned that the last time he saw her, Emma was even more anxious, saying she needed to protect her daughter from something terrible. These discoveries revealed a clear pattern. Emma was on the run, desperately trying to keep Sofia safe from imminent danger. Thomas felt a deep respect for his sister's courage and sacrifice. She had gone through hell to ensure her daughter had a chance to survive. He knew that to honor Emma's memory and ensure Sofia's safety, he needed to continue this search, uncovering every detail of the past and facing any remaining danger that might still exist. As Thomas and Carvalho continued to follow the leads, a new sense of purpose and responsibility solidified within Thomas. He wasn't just solving a mystery, he was protecting his sister's legacy and ensuring a secure future for his niece. The quest for Emma's past was, in fact, a quest for justice and redemption, a journey he was determined to see through, no matter the cost. With the new information about Emma's past, Thomas felt an even greater responsibility to protect Sofia. He knew the girl was in danger, especially if Ricardo was still searching for her. Thomas decided that the first step would be to ensure Sofia's safety while he continued to seek justice for Emma. Thomas brought Sofia to live with him, creating a safe and loving environment. He transformed one of the rooms in his house into a cozy space for the girl, decorated with soft colors and toys. He wanted Sofia to feel she had a home where she was loved and protected. However, even with all the security at home, he couldn't ignore the possibility of Ricardo still lurking. Carvalho, being a loyal friend and experienced detective, helped Tomás install security systems at home. Cameras were strategically placed around the property, and an alarm system was set up. Additionally, Tomás maintained constant contact with local police, ensuring they were ready to act quickly in case of any threat. It was a robust security network, but he knew that personal vigilance was also crucial. To ensure Sofia had as normal a life as possible, Thomas enrolled her in a nearby school. He made sure to explain the situation to the teachers, asking for discretion and extra vigilance. Sofia's classmates welcomed her with open arms, and soon she began making friends, smiling and playing like any other child. Despite the challenges, Thomas was moved by Sofia's resilience and joy. While taking care of Sofia, Thomas also continued to investigate Ricardo. Carvalho used his connections in the police force to track any suspicious activity linked to him. They found out Ricardo had been briefly imprisoned, but was now on parole. This information set off an alarm for Thomas. He knew time was essential to ensure Sofia's safety and to finally close the threatening chapter of Ricardo. Thomas began teaching Sofia basic safety measures. He taught her to recognize dangerous situations, to seek help, and to memorize important phone numbers. He wanted her to be prepared for any eventuality. The girl, with her sharp intelligence, absorbed everything quickly, demonstrating a maturity beyond her years. Thomas was proud of her but also felt deep pain realizing the burden such a young child had to bear. Thomas also sought emotional support for Sophia. He took her to a child therapist specializing in trauma. The sessions helped Sophia process her experiences and find healthy ways to deal with fear and anxiety. Thomas participated in some sessions, where he could also express his concerns and receive guidance on how best to support his niece. Every little step they took together brought them closer, strengthening the family bond that Emma so dearly wanted to protect. Thus, intertwining security, love, and an unwavering quest for justice, Thomas dedicated every moment to ensuring that Sophia had the life Emma sacrificed so much to provide for her. He knew the threat still loomed, but he was prepared to face anything to protect his family and honor his sister's memory. The days turned into weeks, and Thomas continued to balance protecting Sophia with searching for answers about Emma's disappearance. One day, Carvalho brought news that would change the course of their investigation. Ricardo had been spotted in a nearby town. Determined to capture him and finally get the answers they sought, Thomas and Carvalho gathered a team of police officers and carefully planned a stakeout. The operation was meticulously planned. On a cold Saturday morning, the team surrounded the location where Ricardo was hiding. Thomas, with a mix of adrenaline and nervousness, led the raid. Ricardo, caught off guard, attempted to flee but was quickly subdued and arrested. When confronted, he initially refused to speak, but the pressure of a long sentence made him relent. Ricardo revealed that Emma had discovered his criminal involvements and threatened to expose him to protect Sophia. Fearing the consequences, he began to pursue her. Determined to save her daughter, Emma made the difficult decision to flee and leave her in a safe place. Ricardo admitted to tirelessly searching for Emma thereafter, but she had disappeared without a trace. This moment of confession brought a mix of relief and sadness to Thomas. He now had a clearer picture of his sister's final days. With Ricardo in custody, Thomas hoped that the immediate threat to Sophia was finally neutralized. The police continued to investigate, but found no evidence that Emma was alive. While this reality was painful, Thomas found solace in his sister's courage and sacrifice. He vowed to honor her memory by caring for Sophia with all the love and protection she had provided. Meanwhile, Sophia thrived under Thomas's care. Therapy continued to help her deal with past traumas, and she excelled in school, showing incredible resilience. Nights were filled with stories about Emma, told by Thomas with affection and respect. He wanted Sophia to know who her mother was, and how loved she always would be. The community also rallied to support Thomas and Sophia. Neighbors, friends, and colleagues showed solidarity and offered help in every possible way. The love and connection that surrounded them created an environment of safety and hope, something Thomas deeply valued. He knew he was not alone in this journey, and that together they could overcome any obstacle.